This is Vinnie Dombroski from Sponge, the Lucid, the Orbitsuns, Crud, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Vinnie Dombroski of Sponge.
And the Lucid.
Yeah, they both have, Lucid has a new EP coming out.
Yep.
Some singles out there, and Sponge had a new album in 2021.
Yeah, hey, what an engaging interview. Let's get right on that.
All right, good night.
Good night. Vinny, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Vinny, excited to have you tonight.
Well, it's good to be here, Jeff. Good to talk to you, Eric.
Well, fantastic. Well, I don't know if you remember or not. We were supposed to have you on, I think, about a year and a half ago, but my basement flooded. Do you remember that?
Well, no. Ring the bell, because it's funny because when I dialed the number, I'm going, why does this feel like I did this before? But it really didn't quite work out.
Well, what ended up happening was my floor drain in my basement backed up the night that we're supposed to interview you, and I couldn't get the interview to happen because I was too busy manning water out of my basement. So, yeah. So anyway, here we are. All right. Well, the Lucid have announced the upcoming release of a 5-track EP, Saddle Up and Ride. Can you talk? Can you talk a little bit more about the writing and recording process of this new EP?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know, a couple of these songs were songs that were tracked for the initial Lucid album, the full length. But, you know, I think just to make a real concise type of effort, the songs like Mumps, for example, was excluded from that release. So we started to pin together some additional songs, and lo and behold, we were able to get Violent J involved, so it seemed like it made sense to release an EP. And let's face it, a lot of bands will record just a single and release that. So I look at it like it's a little EP of 5 singles, and I think each song is a damn good effort on behalf of the band.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the Lucid enlisted the services of Violent J for the track Saddle Up and Ride. And what other track was it that he participated on?
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. Can you give our listeners the specifics of getting Violent J involved, and how did it all work out?
Wow. Well, Violent J got a hold of me about a year and a half ago or so to do a remake on their most current full-length record, the most current ICP full-length record. And Violent J wanted to do a cover of the Tapao song called Heart and Soul. But he was going to rewrite all the verses, and I was going to, he asked me to rewrite the chorus. So, and we wanted to give it a different twist, like it kind of like the idea of like rise up and conquer kind of thing was the idea. So he did a lot of writing on that, and as well as I did. And this is a song that appears on the most recent ICP full-length album, and it only made sense when the fellas in the Lucid band mentioned about doing a remake of Faith No More's Epic, and they were asking me to reach out to Violent J to see if he might want to do that, help us out on that. I felt it only right that we would just go to him and say, just rewrite the verses, and I'm going to rewrite the chorus. So the band kicks ass on that track. I mean, they sound so fantastic, and this thing turned out better than I could have imagined. And of course, some people might go, well, you're really kind of messing with something that's like, or trotting on sacred ground. But I think we paid much respect to the track and gave it a brand new twist. So there you go.
Well, very good.
For artwork, you got some pretty cool artwork for the upcoming EP. How much do you get involved with the band for your album covers?
I don't. I mean, like they might ask me, like, what do you see? I mean, the only thing I think on the EP cover, Drew was interested in that track "Saddle Up and Ride," and I'm like, well, I'm seeing a guy. I sent him like a little picture of some guy getting shot out of a cannon.
Yep, that's one of them.
Based on a discussion we were having with one of the fellows that made a video for Mastronaut, the director.
Yeah.
And he was in fact he was employed by a circus, and he was the guy that got shot out of the cannon. So, it's interesting to get somebody's feedback that's been there. You don't often get to talk to a fellow that's been shot out of a cannon, but that kind of came to mind. So Saddle Up and Ride, here you go. Boom, you're shot out of a cannon.
Very good. You touched upon Mumps. Mumps is my favorite track on this EP. Can you give us a little bit more intel on the whole writing and recording process of Mumps?
Well, I mean, I think the guys just send phenomenal ideas through to me. Sometimes these songs are complete without vocals, the guitar riff and the drums and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what the track Mumps was. The fellas had this strong idea in mind, but I always wanted to write a song with the title Mumps, and it's just on my writing list. Like, I want to write a song called Pap Smear too, but maybe I'll write that on Friday.
Yeah.
But Mumps, I always wanted to write a song called Mumps. And does anybody ever remember the mumps or having the mumps, or do young people even know what the mumps are?
Not at all. They sure do not.
No.
I mean, did either one of you guys ever have the mumps?
Not that I know of, but I mean, I remember it.
Well, I mean, the weak is young. You could get the mumps if you never got the shot. I mean, the mumps, you get an awful fever and your neck swells up really big. So, and you're really uncomfortable. Sometimes you throw up, but that's the mumps. It's like one of those childhood diseases that really don't happen anymore, like chicken pox and the measles. But the mumps.
Oh, very good. Can you give us a brief history on the formation of the Lucid? How did the band all come together?
I got an email from Drew, the guitar player, and this is probably at the end of 2019, and it was just something through the Sponge website, which is weird because me answering the mail regarding, hey, dude, let's work on some songs is kind of probably not the way to go about it. Typically, people reach out to management or they're a friend or something like that. But it was just a kind of cold call through the email, and I had no idea what was going on. But Drew mentioned that he wanted to have me sing on some songs, and I was like, what do I got to lose? So Drew sent me some demos. I had no idea who was on these demos besides Drew. So I think the first thing I ever sang was the song Hair.
Yeah.
And sent it back to the fellas, and then lo and behold, I get more information that it's David Ellefson and Mike Haller and Drew. So that's kind of how it got started. And from there, the fellas just sent me gobs and gobs of, songs or ideas and in different states of completion. And I would just hop in the car and throw in the CDs that they sent, and I would just drive up and down 8 Mile in Detroit writing.
Oh, very good.
Nice. You guys made a couple videos for your first album. You mentioned one, the Maskernaut. That was my favorite video. But how can you talk a little bit about your involvement in making the videos in the Lucid?
Man, I just don't like to take pictures, and I don't make videos. The guys have a real passion for it.
Yeah.
And I guess I can get on with the performance part of it, but you know what it is? I'm just not getting any better looking, and I go, we have somebody stand in for me. Like Drew is a good-looking young guy. Mike Heller's a good-looking young guy. Ellison, he's a good-looking guy. I just go, I'm not getting any younger. I think Elton John did that once. A young guy. Just kind of take his place in a video, and if that was how I could make videos, I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
With the Lucid being I call it a super group of sorts.
Yeah.
How do you view this band? Is this band a long-term endeavor for you, or do you feel like it is a creative project and for you and the rest of the band?
Well, I certainly would love to see it move forward in the way of writing and recording, and hopefully getting, just more involvement from Violent J and stretching out even more to get other vocalists involved from other genres of music would be just dynamite.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun doing that, and it is different for me because typically I'm fronting a band, but to front a band and have somebody else involved in vocals and I contribute my thing is kind of cool. It's like the Gorillaz are a killer band, and I just go, they've had like Yukimi Nagano from Little Dragon come in and sing, and I like stuff like that a lot, and I would visualize this thing being very similar and experimental and weird.
Oh, very cool.
That's cool.
Very cool.
You guys had to kind of cancel a tour back in May. Is there any plans to get out on the road with the Lucid?
Well, I'd like to see something like that happen. I mean, it's tough with schedules, to get things pinned together with everybody's schedule. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when the fellas said they wanted to do these songs, and they told me at the time all they wanted to do was go play like cruises, with all the rock bands. I'm like, well, sign me up. I'll get my uniform and my little hat, and we'll go on cruises, But, we were supposed to play like some of the cooler rock clubs around, Dampire and Akron and Dingbats in New Jersey, and I would imagine we would have gotten around the Machine Shop and Flint. I mean, all those are great clubs. I would love to go play those clubs with the Lucid, but they pretty much did the bait and switch because they were just like, yeah, all you're going to do, Vin, is spend time on a cruise ship playing rock songs, and then you can go drink the rest of the day. They were live.
Very nice. We're going to go a little bit back in time on you here. So back in 2001, 2002, you were part of Spies for Darwin, another supergroup featuring yourself, Chris DeGarmo, Sean Kenny, Mike Inez. The band released one EP, Microfiche. Can you tell us? Can you tell us a little bit?
I just discovered this. I'm excited.
Yeah. Can you tell us the story behind this supergroup and how did it all come together and how did it all kind of fall apart?
Wow. I think it was from the connection between our management at the time, which was Silver Management, who managed Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, and for the fact that Mike Kinney and Sean Kinney and Mike Inez were friends with Chris DeGarmo. Mm-hmm. They were thinking about putting together something and asked me to write with them. So, I thought that was a great idea. They sent me a bunch of stuff very similar, and I went out there to hang out and cut vocals. We did one gig. It was some radio show out in Seattle, I think. Mm-hmm. And that was about it. I mean, I certainly would like to finish a record or do more with those fellas. As a matter of fact, there was somebody from a label that asked me about that, do you think you could get them to do a whole record, because they were interested in releasing it. But I don't know, that could be something that happens in the future too.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Jeff, you got the next one?
Yeah, I mean, one of the fun parts for me is delving into your history and seeing all these different bands that you've been a part of. I didn't realize you were in quite so many, and just kind of touched a little. I know we don't have time to talk about all of them, but can you talk a little bit about the Orbitsuns?
Yeah, sure. The Orbitsuns, that was just kind of born out of a labor of love. The second Sponge record, the Wax Ecstatic record, that thing, some folks have mentioned to me in the last couple of years that was like their first exposure to goth country, which I was like, yeah. I go, that's a stretch. But,
yeah.
Like, songs like Drag Queens of Memphis on there, and just kind of the feel of Have You Seen Mary?
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a weird mix of rock and strange country at times. So I wrote a ton of songs in the late 90s that didn't fit Sponge at all.
Yeah.
And I've always been a fan of Hank Williams and just loving alt country and old school country and outlaw country as well. I started to form a band back in 1999, and the original drummer from Sponge, Jimmy, is still in that band.
Oh, so and cool.
We do gigs, man. But we've done gigs like with when Blake Shelton first came out and played the Machine Shop in Flint, we played gigs with him. With David Allan Coe at the Machine Shop. We've done a ton of gigs with big country names, and it's always been a blast. But it's a labor of love, man.
Yeah.
I just love doing that kind of stuff, and the audiences are always fun, and playing the gigs is fun. So yeah, you can't keep me away from that one.
Yeah, I just love it because it's you've got a couple different genres that I wasn't really expecting to see you a part of, and I was super excited when I heard it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just can't. I can never make up my mind. I don't know who to.
Well, this leads to the next question. Excuse me. You've been involved with so many side projects, with being part of so many. Is it a creative outlet thing for you? Do you feel like those side projects is a must for your creativity?
Well, I hate to get pinned down with or what people would consider commercially viable lyrics. Mm-hmm. If something interests me, then I want to write a song like The Mumps. I go, that interests me. Other shit that I do these days, even with I got an offshoot from the Orbitsuns, which is called Diamond Buck, and that thing I can stretch out anywhere. I got a record out called The House of Weird Smells, and I'm going to put out another record real soon. I think the big hit from that record is going to be I wrote a song called International Tits. That's a jam, and a song called it's a song called Pork Chop Tree. It's about a tree that grows meat, and I don't want to be pinned down into any one thing. So like with the Lucid, when I come up with, Breach Boy or anything like that, the guys are like, yeah, let's go with it. And that's refreshing.
It is. Nice.
Very, very much so. I guess to maybe another question off of this last one I asked you is, with so many things you're involved with, are you involved with multiple labels? Are a lot of this stuff self-funded? How does it work for you?
Been self-funding most of it since leaving, I think it was like Idol Records back in the early 2000s. But, we've had some help. Like recently, this new Sponge record was released on Cleopatra, and we released a record in 2013, Stop the Bleeding, on The End out of Brooklyn, New York. So we've had some help along the way. It's just, we tour, we get out there and we play. But with the way the radio is these days, like I'm convinced that the Lucid came out in 1996 or 97. There's several songs on that record that would be radio hits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going, well, you got to write a hit song. It has nothing to do with writing a hit song. You got a song called Hair, So what? It's hair. Is it about hair? Not really, but it's about holding somebody's hair. And it's a nice subject, not necessarily, but I think it would have been a big radio tune. Even the Mumps, that could have been a big one too. But the state of the music business has changed so that it really, today, fast forward, it's something that the Lucid can get out there and make music, can probably do some gigs, but is radio going to embrace it the way radio embraced bands back in the early 90s? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Jeff, you got the next one?
Yeah, I guess just the status of Sponge. We kind of touched on them a little bit. Where you guys still touring, or where are you at with Sponge?
Yeah, we had a good year last year. We finished up last year doing a string of dates with Everclear in December, a string of dates with Everclear in October, and then our last couple of dates were on the East Coast right at the end of December this year. So we've had a busy year. We've had a good year. It seemed like we were back playing solid since we were able to get out there and do that again after the pandemic lifted. So, we've been doing damn good. And the new record is damn good too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's I think a really good effort, and we're proud of that thing. So we're on. We got the Wax Ecstatic 25-year vinyl out right now on War God, and that's just beautiful what War God did with that release. They sent me a bunch of records. I still got to pay them for it. So.
Well, with 2024 just around the corner, you got any big plans for Rotting Pinata?
Well, I mean, officially, I would say that we're on 30 years of Sponge, because Sponge started doing what we're doing probably 92, 93, and it wouldn't be the official 30 year since the release of Rotting Pinata. That will be in 94, but I think we're going to really get out there and put a whole new set of songs together, digging deep for some stuff that we don't typically play to keep fans interested, and then promote this War God release and continue to promote the release on Cleopatra. The record's called Lavatorium, and we're proud of that record.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome.
When you're out on tour and putting a set list together with so much material that you've had over the years, how do you narrow it down as far as putting a set list together?
Well, the set that seems to make people want to throw underwear on stage, whatever songs make them want to do that.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
Easy answer. Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, we've been playing a set right now, a very similar set like our show for this past year, and we've been writing set lists. So it's really the set that I go, it maintains people's enthusiasm about being in a club.
Yeah.
That's my thing. You know, they want to pay attention to the band. We come out hitting hard with Wax Ecstatic, into Molly, then Rodney Pinata. Then we're doing Glue, Nina Menashe. It Got to Be Bored. So we tear through a whole bunch of rock and high energy tunes that we bring it down with Mary, and then we pick it right back up. So it's like the high energy sponge set. And I think we're going to, you know, maybe put something together that is a little more eclectic and maybe not relying so much on just the aggressive rock and roll prowess of Andy Padlin, Tim Padlin, Kyle Neely, and Dave Coughlin on drums. So,
oh, very good. As far as pandemic goes, while you and the rest of the world was tied down in your house during the pandemic, did you feel as though did it give you a renaissance in your songwriting at all, or did you feel inspired during the pandemic to kind of work outside your comfort zone of sorts?
Well, God, I wish I could say I've never been in my comfort zone. I guess it's cool, just not comfortable in. But one thing it really drilled home to me. With all these distractions in the world, with everything going on with social media and your smart devices and stuff, there's still, and not to mention people, they employ programs and gadgets to write songs these days, which I go, okay, if that's what you want to do. To me, the only way this works is sitting down and shutting up and shutting stuff off and sitting with a guitar and a piece of paper and waiting. And you wait for the thing to come. That's all you do. I don't know any other way of doing it. So I think the pandemic drilled that home. There's no other way to do this. Sit down, be patient, and write a song. And it was certainly handy for reminding me of that.
Oh, very good.
Nice. When you're sitting down to write songs, do you have to kind of take some time and space yourself off from music that's out there? Do you not listen to other groups or the radio to kind of turn all that off when you're songwriting?
Well, that's weird. You know, that's an interesting question because I was actually thinking about that today because I was playing some music, doing some work around the house. I was listening to some John Prine and then some Chris Christopherson, and I'm going, yeah, I might get out and sit down and write a little bit today, but why am I listening to music right now? And I just kept listening and then shut it off and sat down and wrote a chorus for a song. And I go, that's a pretty good chorus. And it took me a little while to kind of settle into it, but yeah, I don't think it was derivative of anything I listened to, but yeah, that's a good question. I try not to listen much before I go out there and write, though.
Yeah, very good. All right, Vinny, we have one more question for you, then we'll leave you alone for the evening. Deal?
Okay.
All right, so internet and social media has taken the mystery out of rock and roll. There's no mystique anymore. You were a big part of the mystery of rock and roll back in the 90s. As far as you're concerned, what is your preference of these days? Do you prefer the accessibility the internet gives us, or do you miss that mystique and mystery of rock and roll?
Well, I think that's a great question. The mystique of rock and roll is something that we all grew up with. I'm assuming you fellas are a little older than 30, or maybe you're 30.
We're not too far behind you.
Yeah, not too far behind.
Yeah. So it's like, that's what everybody did. Mm-hmm. And I'll never, we went, and I'll give you a great example. In 1994, we're sitting over at the label's offices, and they bring in a laptop computer. Never saw anything like that in my life. And then they said, we're going to set you up with an email address. I didn't even know how to work the internet email at all. And it was something very, very new to me. With that said, I come kicking and screaming all the way even to this point. The way bands, the way artists reach fans these days, and it ain't by the radio, it's social media. And they're relying on your engagement. And I don't think I'm really good at it. For example, Patti Smith, I think she's great at it. And I've heard, and maybe I'm correct. Maybe I'm not. I heard she put a book together of her Instagram posts. And if you look at her Instagram posts, this is someone that, certainly was from the Mystique era of rock and roll,
right.
But she's really done well. She's a great writer. So she has a great picture and she writes something, and they're engaging posts, And me, the only education I got was from like a thrift store in a bowling alley where I found a book of poetry in the closed up bowling alley that I used to bowl in. So I'm like kind of like a dunce, but I love poetry, So it's like, and even talking to Jerry Cantrell at one of the gigs that we went to one day, it was at a casino. We went to go see the fellas, and he said, "Vin, did you ever think we'd be playing casinos?" No, was my answer. I didn't think that. I didn't think we'd be doing meet and greets at casinos either, which that's what they were doing. So it's like the fan engagement is so different today. I don't mind it, but it's something that I came into kind of kicking and screaming. Like, I enjoy my engagement with the fans. I'll be hanging out, signing autographs and stuff like that. But I feel like being on the time in this engagement thing, it really preoccupies my brain where I could be thinking about something else musically. That's all. And it's a tool. That's what it is. Frustrates me sometimes. I'm not that great at it, but I do what I can.
Oh, very good. Yeah. We're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that we did not cover that you would like to promote or plug?
Well, I just want to say thanks to my Sponge guys, Dave and Andy and Tim and Kyle and Jeff Hayes for all their hard work, the touring and the music, and the Lucid guys. What a great group of guys. Mike Heller is the producer of this thing, and David Ellefson and Drew, and of course Lasse. I wish I could pronounce his last name. That did some just killer mixes on these records. He just drilled it home. So all their hard work is just amazing, and I want to say thanks.
Oh, very good. Well, this is how it's going to work. So when Jeff gets this episode all cleaned up, we'll send it to your press people, and we should be looking for it about 4 weeks. Sound good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fantastic.
I'll be around.
Fantastic. I'll send it to you.
Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, fellas. Great to talk to you.
Great talking to you. Yeah. And we'll have this to you about 4 weeks. Sound good?
You rock.
Take care, man. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out.